First of all, how old are you? Because now you may be like in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, it depends. Now, I want you to think about how how did you learn all what you know till date, okay? How come you even know what you know today? How did you learn what you know today? Everything that you know today, from day one, from your childhood till date. Was it because of a role model? Was it because you were being forced to by someone, a parent, maybe a tutor? Was it because you were just self because of self motivation? Was it simply that you were forced to do so? Okay, we know that in most cases, like in Africa, for example, we have different system because we function with the cane. Okay, we use the canes sometimes in schools. Teachers are allowed to sometimes give some strokes when necessary as a punishment. Okay, so now today we are going to talk about the Skinner box. What if the system in Cameroon was actually a Skinner box? I'm talking about the educational system, okay? Specifically the academic educational system. Let's not talk about the home and with our parent, the relationship with our parents. No, I'm talking about the academic system, educational system. That is, we know that in the educational system, teachers use canes, okay? And these sometimes, somehow, are effective. We should admit it because uh, it is part of the system already, and I don't think this would ever stop. Okay, I really personally don't think that this will ever stop, and I'm sure that even in the next 20 years is still going to be the case in the upcoming years. So I don't think it's ever going to stop. So now let's think about it. We already know that in the Western educational system, we don't have this. Okay, they don't use canes. They barely punish students, and the system is quite. We generally say in Africa that the Western system is quite soft as far as punishments are concerned in the educational system in the Western world, that is in Europe or even in America. Okay, but in Cameroon, we have this system of punishment that is quite, we would say, physical because we use cane, teachers use canes, whips, and they are free somehow to give some strokes, okay, when necessary. So, what if the educational system in Cameroon was actually a Skinner box? Okay, so now we are going to talk about the Skinner box, okay, from Skinner, okay, which is actually a behaviorist approach to learning, okay. So we are going to start to analyze the Cameroon educational system as a Skinner box and try to understand why does it work actually, because it does, and we are not ready to let go this system yet. So let's try to understand this together. See you. This is Kevin, and you're watching the Brain Launch with Kevin. Before we get into the main point of the educational system and what I have named the cane theory, okay, let's get to understand what the Skinner box is all about first. How does it work exactly before we relate this to the Cameroon educational system as far as the cane is concerned? So it says the Skinner box is a cage in which a rat could be placed with a small lever which the rat would be trained to press, okay? A shot that would release pellets of food and a floor which could be electrified. For example, a hungry rat was placed in a cage. Every time he activated the lever, a food pellet fell into the food dispenser, okay, which it was actually a positive reinforcer because when the rat will notice that there he could get food by pressing on that button, he would get used to doing so. So it will become a habit for him to get that positive reinforcement, which is the food itself. So the rat quickly learned to go straight to the lever after a few times of being put in the box. Yes, so it becomes a positive reinforcement. This suggests that the positive reinforcement increases the likelihood of a positive behavior being repeated. Okay, in another experiment, a rat was placed in a cage in which they were subjected to an uncomfortable electrical current. As they moved around the cage, the rat hit the lever, which immediately switched off the electric current, which now is a negative reinforcement because the rat quickly learned to go straight to the lever after a few times of being put in the cage. So we understand here that with the negative reinforcement, whenever the rat pressed on the button in the electric cage, okay, he will receive a charge of electricity, which was actually uncomfortable for him, for him or her, let's say. And for this reason, the rat was less tempted on pressing that button. Okay, so this suggests that the negative reinforcement increases the likelihood of the behavior being repeated. Okay, so positive reinforcement, what do we get here? It's a reward for performing a certain behavior. For instance, the rat could be rewarded with a pellet of food. Yes, so this is a positive reinforcement. On the other hand, the negative reinforcement, which is the removal of an unpleasant situation when a particular behavior is performed, thus producing a sense of relief. For instance, a mild electric current was passed through the floor of the cage and was removed when the desired behavior was performed. Okay, let's think about it in the educational system now. Now, let's make it a little bit clearer, okay? Oh, we understand that uh, this is a behaviorist approach, okay? And the behaviorist approach, uh, which functions in such a way that there should be a stimuli, okay? And when there is a stimuli, the subject will react to that stimuli, which is actually now a response. So, if, for example, I can decide as a teacher that every time a student provides a positive answer to my question, I give him plus one. Okay. So, of course, obviously, most students will be more motivated in answering my questions. So, my points, okay, are actually what we call the stimuli. Okay. And the students answering my questions is the response. So, yes, if I take off my stimuli, that is, I decide to cancel the game, okay, if I decide, okay, from now on, there is no plus one, okay, no additional grades. So the students are likely to stop, okay, answering the questions as often as before because they know that they will not be provided any credit for it. So in this case, we talk of negative reinforcement. Whereas my giving the credits to the students for each good answer, this is a positive reinforcement. When you look at the education system in Europe, for instance, it's a bit different because now we are going to talk about what I've called the cane theory. Okay. I'm going to talk about the Cameroon context because I am not sure about how it functions in other African countries like Ivory Coast, for instance, or in Nigeria. But in Cameroon, we are going to focus on Cameroon. So if you have the same, if you are from Nigeria or any other parts of Africa, please let me know if we have the same approach, if teachers have the same approach, the same relationship, the same connections with the students. Okay, so here it goes. In Europe, for instance, in America, or even in France or other African, European countries, or even in Turkey, we know that the children are quite protected, okay, by the law. Okay, so you cannot just You can't just lay your hand on the child as a teacher or even as a parent. So it's quite okay sensitive to do so, and quite risky to a given extent. So in most cases it is not allowed to do so. It is against the law to do so. So in education you will rarely see a teacher, okay, laying a hand on a student for whatsoever reason. So there are different measures, okay, different approaches that are available for the teachers in some situations, okay, to sort out some situations, to palliate some situations, but they are not allowed to employ physical punishments to students. But in Cameroon, it is quite different. And as I said, I don't know about other African countries, but in Cameroon, it is actually normal to do so. Okay, so I know that I had some strokes from some of my teachers when I was in college or primary school, and it's quite normal. So even when parents know that a teacher has laid a hand on a child, it's quite normal to them. So in most cases, teachers have full power, okay, full control, some to a reasonable extent, to punish physically, okay, in the campus. Okay, in universities, of course, no, it's not the case. But I mean, in colleges and primary schools, this is actually a daily bread, I would say. So if you have had some strokes, if you escaped primary school and secondary school without getting any strokes from any teacher, please let me know in the commentaries. You are lucky. Okay, you are a chosen one. You are certainly of another level. Okay, so for those who are like me, I was not a stubborn student. I wasn't stubborn, but of course, for in some cases, I had to get some strokes for one reason or the other. Okay, so if you are curious about it, ask, and I will tell you in the commentaries. So now we know that. Now that that's said, we know that in Africa in Cameroon we have these situations like getting some strokes from teachers. But when we think about it, it is so normalized in Cameroon that we don't even think of doing without it. Like as a teacher, you always see a teacher with a cane in class, okay, gas tube, a gas tube, or maybe sometimes using some special canes, handmade canes, okay, that are brought in class. So sometimes you get some strokes for not doing the homework, for failing an exam, for forgetting your notebook, for different reasons, okay, for not doing a presentation appropriately, for not having the expected results. And it's always there is all the reasons are so numerous that we can't really enumerate all of them here, but it is normal. Okay, it is normal. And I've been teaching in Turkey, and I've noticed that it is not the case here. You cannot do that. Okay, if you dare do so, a teacher is quite liable to find himself into serious trouble. Okay, parents don't take it lightly in these kind of situations. Of course, in Cameroon too, because when we think about it, in Cameroon, I'm not saying that some teachers, some parents are not sensitive to this. Some parents, of course, do not accept this. Some parents who are, I call them modernized parents, they don't accept this. Okay, they don't tolerate their child or their children to get beaten by a teacher in school for whatsoever reason. So, but why is it so then? I mean, first of all, does it work? Because in my knowledge, from what I have observed so far, I can say that it's actually working. And my when I've when I go through my memories here about my days in college or in primary school, those who actually went through this somehow, these experiments, like this experience, are actually quite learned today compared to students who are actually in Europe, because we know how it is in Europe. Students are very stubborn and everything. But I am not saying that in Cameroon is not the case. Of course, students are stubborn too. But the cane is actually okay, showing the direction, if I would say it like that way. But I'm not saying that it's a good thing. Okay, I'm not saying that we should beat children. I'm not saying that it's a good thing. But I'm trying to analyze the situation. Why does it seem to work? Why does it seem to be perpetuated? Okay, every year we have new teachers coming and they go on with the same procedure, beating, and the system in Cameroon doesn't do anything about it. Why? So my question is, why? Does it mean that the system works? Does it mean that the cane theory works? Is it okay to do so? No, it's not okay. But why does it continue and why does it seem to work? So this is what we are going to try to answer in the next part of this video. Some parents, okay, beat their children. Okay, if you have bad results, they give you strokes. You did a mess in school, they give you the strokes you deserve. If you don't act well at home, they give the strokes you deserve. And it's quite normal because they give you a stimuli for you to react in a certain way, to behave in a certain way. So you have to learn from the pain. You have to learn from the pain. So what comes to my mind is, okay, if we have to learn from the pain, does it mean that those who go to school and get strokes from the teachers are actually liable to act the appropriate way? Let's take, for example, let's try to put this in an example. Okay, let's say that um we are in a classroom and a teacher is using a cane because a student did not do the homework. Okay, each time the student doesn't do the homework, he gets a stroke. He gets some few strokes, 10 strokes, 20 strokes, it depends. Okay, so these students generally will understand that he's on the wrong track. Okay, unless he's quite super stubborn, I don't know. But in most cases, you understand that you're on the wrong track, and as a result, in the next homeworks, you are liable to do this homework. The student is liable to do the homeworks. So, and this is actually the positive response. Okay, the students understand that if they don't do the homework, they are liable to get the strokes. So for this reason, they will start doing the homeworks, okay, to avoid getting beaten. And on the other hand, the student may decide, okay, not to do the homework, okay, and the teacher keeps on beating him or her, and somehow there is no response to these strokes because at a given point, the student may get used to it, okay, which means that this doesn't work actually. So what is it that we are supposed to use as teachers to control the students, okay, to get the appropriate response? Okay, Skinner believes that if you want to get the positive reinforcement or the positive response, okay, you need to know your students. First of all, know your students, know the students. What do they like? What is it they like and what is it they dislike? Okay, in most cases every student likes marks. Okay, if you say -1, it hurts. -2, it hurts. But if you say +1, oh, then it is something positive for him and he is more liable to go for it, okay, to get even more marks. So this brings me back to the example I gave earlier in the video. Like if you give a positive, if the stimuli is interesting, it is something that the student really likes, then you are liable to get a very positive response from the student. If you are actually selling or if you are offering free marks, for example, for positive answers, okay, for good answers, good class participation, or good presentations, students are more liable to give you a positive performance or a positive response to get the marks from you. Okay, so this is how it works. Now, the students, the teachers who use canes, okay. Now, if you use a cane and the student does not respond, it means simply means that the student is not actually, he doesn't care. Like you are just beating him, and it does not mean that he's going to change. Okay, he might even be more rebel than what he is now. So you are more liable to uh, make things even worse. The relationship between you and that student may even be worse. So what should you do? You need to understand the student. What is it the student really cares about? Okay, why is he even coming to school? Okay, if he's coming to get marks, then use the marks as uh, the carrots, as we say. Okay, use the marks as the carrots to control the students. Okay, instead of using the whips, because the whips are not actually effective. Okay, the whips are not effective anymore because we understand that students do not learn with fear. Now, the students may learn with fear if and only if somehow he finds interest in doing what you are expecting from him. Some students may, after a reflection, a period of reflection, after a few strokes, okay, understand that, okay, I am on the wrong track, okay, and I need marks. I need to get my results. I need to get A grades, I need to get B grades, and all the like. So consequently, the student is more liable to understand that okay, he is on the wrong track and he needs to do what he has to do to perform well. The good thing is he is going to avoid the strokes and he's going to get what he wants, which is the grades, A grades. So he's actually avoiding the strokes. This is one thing, the good positive thing. And the second thing here is that the student is actually getting his grades because he wants them and he will work for them. He understood that he had to work for it. And he worked, he did put in the effort, the necessary effort, and he got the mark he wanted. So when we look around in the Cameroon system, why do we keep on using canes if they are not that effective? Okay, I think about it because I was thinking about it like a few days ago, and I was like, okay, in my opinion, I'm going to give you two main reasons which I'm going to substantiate in this video. Okay, so now to understand why in Cameroon we keep on using canes. Okay, as I said, I will give two reasons. The first reason is actually historical. Okay, because we already know that back in the days of slavery and slave trade, we had a lot of Africans, okay, who got beaten. Our ancestors got beaten like it was actually the daily bread, the daily routine. So they get beaten for several reasons. So we got used to beating actually. Yes, because each time they were not doing the right thing, they weren't doing the right thing, okay? They weren't following instructions, as we said. They had to suffer some strokes. So, and this went on from generations to generations, generations to generations, and it became so normalized that even today we still believe that beating is the solution to get to the results that we want. So this is why I think that in Cameroon, even today, beating in learning and learning go side by side because back in the days, we got used to this. Okay, in the days of slavery, we got used to this beating for here, beating for this or that. So it was always the same thing. And even today in education system, we use that. Just look at our families, okay? We have beatings. Some parents, they beat the children for one reason or the other. Okay, so it is quite natural. It is quite automatic. We have canes. Some families even have special canes for the children kept somewhere, like a holy grail. And it's quite funny, but it may sound funny, but it's not, okay? Because It is somehow a kind of legacy that we have received from the old days. So today we use the cane in educational system, in my knowledge, because we got used to beatings and it has been transferred from generation to generation. So we believe that if you have to learn something in education, education goes with a cane or a whip. So it is quite we can I think it is also historical for this reason. So now the second point is that it could be cultural as well, okay? Because we already know that in Africa we have this respect between the elders for the elders. That is, the youngsters generally have a special respect for the elders, and for this reason we have this family sentiment in the African culture in general, in such a way that it is not all the even your neighbors, father or parents in general, are somehow liable to punish you if you do something wrong. Okay, because we have this feeling that the family or the parents are not just the biological parents. Okay, even sometimes your aunts can punish you, your uncle can punish you, your grandmother can punish you, or even your best friends parents can even punish you for one reason or the other. So you have to follow that, you have to get that to have to preserve that respect for the elders in every circumstance. So now that we think about it, let's get back to the education system. In the educational system, teachers are perceived as parents in academics. Okay. So whenever a child crosses the gates of the school, okay, or the school gates and get into the classroom, the parents are actually the teachers. So the teachers take the place of the parents in that case and are somehow, okay, free to give whatsoever punishment deemed necessary in the reasonable, okay, in a reasonable way to punish the student or to get the students on the right track. Okay, so for this reason, there is this connection between the teachers and the parents. That is, the teacher becomes a parents for like 6 or 7 hours. It depends on how long we stay in school. And for this reason, the teacher can provide punishments when necessary, beatings or somehow homeworks, or it depends because not all teachers use whips. But what I'm trying to say, I think you got it. Like teachers are actually parents in the school campus. So for this reason, they have that power or legitimacy, I would say, to give you punishments when necessary. So these are the two reasons that I got to justify the use of canes in our Cameroon institutions, in Cameroon schools, precisely in secondary schools and primary schools. So let me know what you think about it. Let me know, do you think that canes are really useful as a teacher? If you are a teacher, do you use canes in your classrooms? Do you think it's effective? How effective are the canes in your classrooms? And also, what do you think? Do you think that it is the best solution? What could be an alternative to using canes as punishment? And so, do you believe that Cameroon schools, that is secondary and primary, are skinner boxes, as I said in the title? Do you think that uh, somehow we can use the students' interest to provide the appropriate punishment? Okay, so let me know in the commentaries, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, I know that many are watching the channel and unfortunately are not subscribed to the channel. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It is free and it is quite motivating. As you know, this is a new channel and I have more videos coming up. a live coming up very soon, and I also have an interview coming. So you will get back, and you will not, if you subscribe and you hit on the notification bell, of course, you will get notified as soon as the video is available. So have a good day, and I wish you well to you and your family.